I need to add the items to the agenda.
Do it again. I'm sorry.
All right. We will begin the meeting at 6:04. And we are all present today. And we'd like to add 2 items to our agenda. Item 12 will be interview and nomination of Allen Helvajian. That will be item 12. And item 13 is review of the proposed changes we have to the June 2021 ACC policies. And we need a motion to approve the agenda.
I move to approve the agenda.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Dan in there too? Dan, did you vote?
Yes, aye. Sorry, I was on mute.
I'm sorry, who seconded it?
Nobody, we just.
Oh, okay. Unanimous?
Yeah. Item 2 is approval of the 4/4/2024 ACC meeting minutes.
I'll move to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Sounded unanimous. And
Dan, don't think I was officially a member then. I'm probably for the record should just abstain from that vote since I wasn't a member of the committee yet then.
yeah, I'm not sure. You may be right.
Just for posterity, I'll abstain. If it needs to be changed later, we can do that.
Okay. And I guess we'll move down to item 12 and talk to Alan.
Hello, good evening.
Hi. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. I got a little bit just from the email, but
Sure. I am retired or in between jobs, depending on whichever it turns out. I'm a former banker, telecom project program manager. I volunteer professionally and personally. We have twins, so we belong to a twins organization. I've also volunteered with Coast Walk, who manages walks while we lived in California, from the Mexican to the Oregon border. So did volunteer work there. While at work, I've worked on employee impact committees for diversity, equity, and inclusion, as also as change control, where we monitored changes to our production environment to make sure system stability was 100%. I am earnest about this position. I hope to be allowed to join you wonderful folks and help make this a better place.
why specifically the ACC were you interested in?
Well, when we first moved here, I familiarized myself. This is the first time we've lived in an HOA, so I wanted to be sure I understood the rules and requirements. I've made use of it when we did some repair work and found the process to be easy and streamlined, but it also, I think it's an important area to provide guidance and instructions for what we can and can't do for the betterment of all.
When did you say you moved here?
Summer 21. So about 2.5 years. 3 years coming up.
Yeah, that's about when I moved in too. Yeah. What else?
Play golf. I like to walk around the lake. Have not been, well, I've been on the lake, not in the lake yet. Have a cat. What else can I tell you?
So are you aware of what the requirements would be for to join us on the committee as far as meetings and our tours?
Well, I know you guys meet twice a month, every other Thursday, and I know that there are tours happening. Meetings are one in the morning, one in the evening to accommodate various schedules, I assume.
Yeah, we have a Zoom meeting and a meeting like this one now.
Yeah. Beyond that, specific responsibilities to see wherever I can help out.
Okay. Yeah, we actually have a tour when we get our agenda from Diane. Our group does a tour where we actually drive around and look at most of the properties, and
Great.
we know what we're talking about when we get here.
Sure. Yeah.
And those are, we have a good time. Usually lasts a couple hours unless we get lost in gate 3.
Yeah, it shouldn't be a problem. I'm available during the day.
Okay. I guess, can we get a motion to nominate Alan and send his name to the board for approval?
I move to approve Ellen.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Did we get Dan on that too?
Yes, I was aye.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, you're welcome to join us. You can take part in the discussion, but no, you can't vote on things.
Daniel is going to have to take your name to the Board of Directors for final approval.
Next Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay, item 3. Dre is here. Join us, please.
Oh.
Well, thank you for getting the drawing to us. The iteration, I think this is the second iteration of it. And when we went, we looked at the house the other day, and the gentleman that was there described what we plan on doing, and we just needed something that we could look at and actually have something that we're approving rather than just discussion about it.
For sure.
This is nice. Anybody have any opinions about what he presented to us?
I'll actually move to approve.
Okay. Wayne, anything, or Dan?
No, the additional drawings were very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, we can approve, subject to the owner submitting their drawings for a permit, because there's an external structure added to the home, and then they'll probably have to record it at titles when they construct the new door entrance, right?
All right, so there's a motion on the table. Could I get a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 All right. Well, unanimous.
Hmm?
You're good.
All good. Thank you.
Thanks for the drawing. All right, item 4. 26 Grandview Lane. Join us, please. Those look like some scary steps up there, especially in the winter.
Speak into the mic. We only have audio.
Yes, they are scary,
Thank you.
very unsafe.
Does anybody have any comment about this?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. What are you gonna do with all those big rocks?
Yeah, we've had several people say that they could really use them.
Yeah, those are nice.
Yeah, so the contractor has actually said, I'll bring my trailer and move them wherever they want them to go. So that's for us to have to think about and make them happy as well.
Yeah, they might be better for maybe a wall than stairs.
Retaining walls, yeah, exactly. Yeah. I have a question. How do you think that was ever approved? Was that back then when the house was built in 2006?
Was it 2006? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, maybe it wasn't approved.
Oh, I was just saying. Not only are they unattractive, they're very, very very
They
dangerous.
look treacherous if,
They are
especially if
very-
there's
it's
any
gonna
kind of
look
ice.
beautiful. We're gonna have lighting going all the way up the driveway and
Be nice.
be a nice addition to the neighborhood.
Yeah. Well, thanks for bringing it to us.
You're welcome. So are you saying we're approved?
You're good.
I'll let him know. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Item 6. 19 Green Hill Road. James? So it looks like the extent of the stairs isn't going to go any wider than the deck that you have in the back right now. Is that correct?
Correct.
Anybody have any comments?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you all. And I will say thank you for volunteering on this board. I've volunteered on many boards and I know it takes time and efforts. I appreciate more people being interested in it. So
Well,
thank you.
thanks for playing by the rules.
Well, with your experience on other boards, perhaps you'd like to be a part of this one.
Actually, I will be I think it's the beginning of July. I'll be on Peace Health, a community health board. So I think my extra time will be sucked up with that.
Mm.
But maybe if that goes away, 3 years.
Thank you.
Okay.
Did we pass item 5?
No, we didn't. I was trying to
Oh, he's.
people that were here. All right, yes, item 5 now. Deck that was, this is the one that was already built, I believe. Yeah, this was built without a ACC approval, and it looks nice. I don't have a problem with it, but it did require our approval. Anybody have any comments about this?
Is there a fine for doing that without approval?
I think there is a fine. That's what admin will determine that. I think there is a fine,
Okay.
but I mean, otherwise it looks fine.
Yeah, the other question, Dan, is it in the site plans or part of the Whatcom County permitted?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Can the owner submit that and then they'll be subject to the approval?
That the drawing was sent to the county.
Like a revision, there should be evidence of a revision.
That you know, that if that stands out for Joel, I think we would have heard about it. But as far as the county goes, I'm not too concerned. If
Well,
that-
then it's buyer beware. Whoever buys it, it's not on title, right?
well, I would.
They'll have to chop it out.
We could control what the county approves in this, and if Joel sees it and has a problem with it, then we'd have things to say about it. Do you have any? What do you think about that? Wayne?
I mean, we're approving things that are not evidenced, right? So, we can put it subject to Joel's approval, but Joel's probably gonna have to say, where's the site plan that shows that deck, added to the existing house plans? Cause if it was added and nobody knew about it, then if I'm the new buyer, I wouldn't have it on my title either, right?
I mean, if you think we need some more documentation for this, it's not going to hold.
Just,
It's already built.
yeah, just approve it and then, subject to the owner submitting, the revised, permit plans, because obviously it was revised, right? So there must be evidence somewhere, like why would you build the deck without something, right?
You want to make the motion then, Wayne?
Motion to approve subject to owner submitting revised building permit plans to ACC committee.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That sounds good. Thank you, Wayne.
And was subject to what, to the county or Joel?
Nope. They're subject to Whatcom County, revised, site plans, showing the building structure with a revised deck added. And it must be submitted to ACC committee prior to approval.
You good, Diane?
I'll get it off the recording. I don't even know what item we're on.
Item 7. 7 Little Palomino Court. Construction change, a paint change. Any comments on this?
I move to approve.
Wayne to second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 8. 23 Louise View Drive. This was for a tree on a neighbor's property. The neighbor or the person who brought the application is paying for the tree on a neighbor's property. The tree is obviously dead and we got approval from the neighbor. So the photos indicate that this tree is in really bad shape. So I would approve something like this. Can I get a motion for this? Or any comments?
I'll move to approve.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Item 9, 20 Sweetclover Circle. An extension request. And I would propose that this would be this. Yeah, this would be this would be the second extension requested. Right?
Yes.
Yeah, the first extension was approved through the first or January 2024. So there's a lapse here. So I would propose that we give another extension beginning on the day that first one ended. 6 months from that. That would be my motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And that's as of 1/21.
It's 6 months from the 121.
And there will probably be a fine.
So that extension runs through July then? July 21,
That sounds right.
yeah. And this house is under construction, it's been going on 2 years?
Started on August 22. Right, item 10, 14 Baywood Court. This is a head enclosure with a deck with rails. We went and looked at this one.
I'll move to approve with comments.
Yeah, I think we require a variance for this too, because this would be on the border of the property. There's an existing fence there now, a split rail fence, which is which was probably approved, because split rail is okay. But it is right on the border, and it's so we just for keep it official, we need a variance on that too. So this is the motion is that we approve with that comment.
Yes.
Okay, can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So what was the comments to go along with that?
She's gonna have to submit a variances.
Okay.
Item 11, 20 Lost Fork Lane.
I'll move to approve.
Have a second?
I'll second. I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
That was fast.
On-
Now this is
Daniel, on that last one on item 20. It was hard to see. You guys went out and looked at it. Was that, they looked like they applied for a replacement of the deck, and then when they went in and to do the work that ended up structurally having to makes more changes, so they made it slightly bigger. Did I read that right?
Which item are you talking about?
Item 9.
Item 9, the
20.
last one we just did. Item 11.
11.
11? I thought he said 20.
It's 20, the address is
20
20 Lost Fork.
Yeah, it's item 11, the one we just looked at. I'm not revisiting it. I just want to make sure I'm understanding these plans correctly and I'm reading everything right.
So Dan, when we saw the deck was pre-existing when the owner bought it. The fence sits on the property line when they bought it. And what the comments are that Joe Jean's referring to is that there's a variance that's required when you replace an existing fence, and that you're not then you're replacing like for like without the necessary 5-foot setback.
Is that the one? you're
Okay.
talking-
No, I was talking about item 11. Sorry, it's the
He lost-
description says to replace the deck surface, only no change to size or existing structure. But then when you look at the plans that they had, it did look like it was bigger, so. I may have just been not seeing that correctly, so.
Plans.
Are you
Are
talking-
you referring to 20 Baywood?
I'm looking at that 20 Lost Fork. 20 Lost Fork Lane. That was the last one we looked at, right? Last one we approved?
What, the photo on the back? What makes you think it's can be extended?
Well, I'm looking at the item 11 and then on the description, the exterior alteration request. And then there's a picture. Or am I not understanding that right? The item 4 of 4, that picture, that's not a picture of the actual deck. That's like, is that just an example of what they're gonna do material wise?
The
Yeah.
last page?
Yeah,
That's pretty common that people will send photos of their neighbors, with something they want.
okay, all right, that
Their
was,
back deck, and they want to match the back deck.
all right, got it, sorry. Thanks for tolerating my question. It was just, I wasn't sure how that wall works, so appreciate that.
Has everyone had a chance to review the edits that we made to the policies? I don't want to go through the whole thing, but if anybody wants to talk about certain sections, we can certainly revisit them or visit them, talk about what they mean and why we made the changes. I had a meeting with Joel and Joanne and Diane this morning, and we fine-tuned some of the things we had been talking about for a few weeks. So I hope you have all had enough time to look at it and make some changes or suggest some edits. Anybody have comments?
I really didn't have time to go over it, so I have no comments.
I'm sorry?
I didn't have time to go over the changes, so I don't really have any comments, but um, it needs a lot of changes.
You mean the current one or
Yeah,
this edit?
from the current one.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Yeah, we did see that there were a lot of places for improvement, clarification.
Well, I had some questions. On 13.2, the committee structure.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have to have Wayne and Allen and Dan elected in the next election in November?
Yes,
They're just temporarily appointed. I mean, we voted them and then the board, well, you'll find out about the board on Thursday.
Yeah.
But they need to be voted in November.
I'm not clear about that. That's the section Joanne worked on. I'm not sure how that actually works.
well, is she changing that? Because that's the way it is now. If you get appointed during the year, you have to get elected at the next AGM, unless, of course, nobody runs and we just ask to have them appointed again.
I think it may be, she may be referring back to our the bylaws. And that I think that's something that we tried to, there was a little bit of a disconnect between the bylaws and our policies here. So that may be what her thought was there. I'm not sure. So what would your comment be about that, just so I can refer this to Joanne?
Just so we need to see if the
the-
temporary members, those approved by us and the board of directors need to be elected by the community in November.
Okay.
And then I just asked Joanne on 13.8, conduct of meetings.
Yeah.
It says a majority of all committee members excluding alternates shall constitute a quorum. And I'm just, who are the alternates? When I asked Joanne about it,
What'd she say?
well, she said no, that, you know, the people that we approve and that the board approves, they're on. They're not considered alternates. So it's something, you know, I mean, we could actually delete that. I guess it was maybe made at a point sometime when, you know, we had a full committee of 9 people and then there'd be alternates then. But, you know, or maybe describe that, you know, alternates, which are those in excess, those that serving in addition to the 9 members on the committee, the 9 voted members, you know, just to clarify that.
Yeah, that may be something we put in the definitions in the beginning.
Okay, then I had a comment on 14.3. The compliance review.
Mhm.
In order to verify that all proper permits have been obtained, the property owner or his or her designee must provide to the administration the original Whatcom County stamped and approved plan and set in building permit prior to commencement of construction. Well, only after such verification and payment, the completion deposit will SVCA issue final approval to proceed, which I guess that would be us, that would be that final approval.
I think that, I mean, we could probably approve it, but for them, you know, our committee can approve it, but I think there's another step before they can actually start do this.
You know, I guess what I'm saying is, you know, I know Wayne always brings up, you know, do we have the thing, the stamp plans and everything?
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
you know, it shouldn't come to us until we have that.
You know, there are different, I talk to Joel about this a lot, and sometimes it just doesn't work out that way. It sounds like a really good idea, but generally it takes them a lot longer to approve things than it does us. So I think they still have to get that approval. So once we approve, I think the actual county approval has to be on board too. But we can approve pending, I guess. They can't start until.
Okay.
So just to clarify, since Patrick brought it up, that I break up things. So the intent is that whatever you submit, it takes time, right? So the clock starts running when you submit your approval, right, to the county, and that you can apply to the Architectural Control Committee for approval, right? So that substantiates the commitment by the homeowner and demonstrates they've submitted architectural quality or engineer stamp quality for permitting. Because if I'm a builder, I can't start building without my permit anyways, right? But at least we're seeing not not to scale drawings or things that are not quite just to envisioning. So just like when Dan made the comment on one of the submissions saying, I can't quite see what the owner is trying to do, right? So that removes all the overhead that we're spending to review something that we have no clarity on. So if you're not serious about something, obviously you wouldn't put in the drawings, would you? So how can you be approving something that's just a guess?
Yeah, if we approve something, it has to be specific. There shouldn't be any wiggle room as to what we actually approve. If it can actually go.
Yeah. So case in point, when somebody says they want to submit a request for paint change, right? And as long as they've selected something that's in compliance to the policy in the manual. So if I want to pick pink color decorative fencing, obviously it's not in the policy manual. So it's subject to a variance and saying, I'd like pink because the rest of my house is pink. So that would come before the ACC to say, can I get a variance on this, right? You've asked for green and black because that's all sitting in the manual, right?
Is there is there something you want me to take to Joanne for a question as far as compliance review is, Joanne and Joel? Or do you think this is clear enough?
Well, I think what Patrick's asking for is like where's the yard, where's the yardstick set, right? Is it at the time that they submit it for approval, or do they come to us when they actually get the permit, right? And what we're saying is no, they don't have to wait till the permit arrives. They just have to submit quality drawings. So we're not looking at something that's not to scale or something that doesn't quite appear clear to all of us, because we're we don't want to disregard a valid application if we can envision and see it, right? I mean, we've reviewed applications before where it's clearly described by words and we had no clue. For example, the new door entrance, right? Until they actually submitted a drawing, we're saying, yep, that's good. So submit whatever you are planning to submit for a permit, because you're going to have to get a permit. And that's all we're looking for.
Yeah, I think further in these policies, it describes precisely what we want to see in a submission. It's up to us as a committee to decide whether we've gotten enough information to approve something. So it's always at our discretion to decide. If we aren't happy with what they're presenting, we can't approve that. So I think we need to make those decisions on a case-by-case basis. But it's pretty clear in the policies what we ask of, well, new construction mainly, but if we need to clarify at what point we want to see it, this would probably be a time to address that. But I'm not.
Yeah. So so Dan, that's good. I think what we're trying to clear is any gray area that you're not, like, if it's not enforceable, meaning if I go to the ACC board and I ask for an exterior change and I decide, well, I'm going to put it on the side of the house and not tell you. So is it enforceable? probably not, because nobody's going to go back, or we're not going to send Joel back there to go see if the door was constructed to the permit, right? So either somebody submits it with the intent that they're serious, that they're going to put the door where it is, and then we don't need to wait till Whatcom County decides and give them the permit, right? We just need to see what is it that they're asking for, and is there a clear evidence of what it is they're trying to construct.
Well, I think that when we get the agenda, we need to, if we don't see what we need on it, we could talk to Diane and make sure that the applicant gives us more information if we need it. It would be
Yeah. So so we've
such a
rejected.
gray area. I mean, there's such a sliding scale on what is presented to us and what kind of work is done. Not everything is going to need, architectural drawings. Sometimes a sketch is good. Sometimes a sketch is not good enough. If we see that in the agenda, I think we need to clarify that and be very specific what we want and convey that to Diane.
Yeah, anything that's complex, such as we can't rule on structural acceptance, for example. So if you're adding a deck and change of a door, you're obviously changing the way the house is completed. So for example, the last application we reviewed, clearly the door was constructed in another location. When we arrived, the door was patched up, and then we couldn't even envision where the new door was, other than somebody just pointing to the corner of the house, right? So now the resubmission of the drawing makes it clear, and then all we're looking for is, yep, okay, we'll accept this, subject to, yep, you're gonna have to file for a permit anyway, so submit it at that time, right? So it should be momentarily, like within the week, it should be submitted, right? And that's all we're asking for.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need to wait for Whatcom County to say, hey, it's approved, and it's 4 weeks later, right?
Yeah. And I'm not sure how we could document that. I think that's just something we have to work with on a case by case basis. And we need to be clear about what we want to see, what we're approving.
Just remember, Patrick, I'm only one vote, right? So I can abstain or not vote. Like I as a professional engineer do not want to have the liability where I'm approving something that clearly has a structural change or an engineering change that I know that requires a permit, right? So yeah, I'm only one vote. So
Well, you could also sway us too.
Okay, moving on before we're good with that. The next thing I have is about the fire prevention checks, 14.4.7, where it talks about notify admin when combustible materials arrive on site, and they have the proper fire prevention stuff. Who checks that? Does Joel do that? Does admin do it? Does security? Is it really known that when combustible materials arrive that they contact somebody?
I would assume Joel, but and he was definitely a part of these edits, and he may have even been the one that worked on this piece right here. I don't know for sure.
You might, 14.4.7, fire prevention.
Have that spreadsheet.
Well, it's just,
I couldn't tell you who's in charge of that.
yeah, it's just, maybe you should make a note and to try and clarify that, who's responsible for doing that.
Well, I
Who
don't
do they
think that
notify?
needs to be included in this.
Right.
I
But it's just,
Joel's going to sign on.
Was he?
Yeah. Gonna take him a minute, though. We can go back to that.
okay, the next one I have is 14.5.1 about property coverage rule. And I see where now they're including the driveways as part of it, where before it was exclusive of the driveways.
Yes.
And what if driveways are porous? Is that, how is that affected? You know, like if you have just a gravel drive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good point. The 50% open space, I think, is just things that aren't forest or yard or
Yeah, it says
ground.
no more than
This-
30,
This is
35%.
Yeah, I think that's a good question.
These are things, I mean, we don't have to decide now, but it's probably something to go back and take a look at.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, that was going to be something there will probably be more discussion about when the board sees this.
Mhm.
So that could be something we can talk about then, when this
Okay.
is finally approved.
Okay, then next one I have is 14.5.2, the minimum setbacks.
Yeah.
And the question I have, it talks about interior side. Do we need to put that under the definitions in the beginning as to what they mean by an interior side? I didn't know what that was.
Well, if you didn't know what it was, I'm sure some other people wouldn't know either.
Yeah.
So we could add that. There were some things added to the glossary in the beginning.
Right. Okay, and then 14.5.5 F. Talking about the slope.
Yeah, this was amended in our meeting. We changed it a little bit.
Mm.
I don't know if you saw this version.
Yeah, to go from 25 to 15%.
Yeah, we're
Maximum slope of up, okay, this is new. A maximum slope of up to 20 may be approved depending on the site. Okay,
if the driveway is grooved.
yeah,
So
Okay.
it's no longer 25.
right. But it can be up to 20.
Yeah.
Provided, okay.
Which is
Yeah, I don't
pretty
think that was
basic.
in the one that I looked at that you'd sent me.
Yeah.
Initially. This is something new. So, okay, that's good. 14.6.5 B. B.
Storage areas.
Okay, you corrected it. Yeah, supplies was spelled wrong, in the other one.
Yeah.
It's a little thing
Yeah,
that's
Joe, I
been
did a
corrected.
lot of, and a lot of this will be looked at for those kind of things.
Yeah, okay, so I saw that. 14.6.7 about hot hot tubs.
Yeah.
May require permits. And we need that prior to submittal to the ACC. The tubs must be screened from view of adjacent properties and roads by a privacy panel or similar design consistent with the design of the main structure.
Daniel, Joel is here now.
Hi, Joel. Did you have a comment?
So they'd need to have those permits prior to submitting it to the ACC. Is that correct? Yeah, prior to
Yeah,
submittal.
That's what it says here.
Yeah. And this takes the case of the privacy they put up would take care of any nude hot tubbers.
And that has
No.
been an issue, so this isn't just a
Okay.
arbitrary ruling.
So,
That's a good question.
sure.
Yeah.
Makes the difference between a hot tub and other type of work, because here we definitely say it has to be submitted before. And other times when we were talking about it, we were kind of flip-flopping on which one went first, which one went second.
Joel, could you talk about that a little bit? About getting county approval before our ACC meetings? And what types of construction could we require that?
Yeah, sorry, I was muted there. Can you say the question again? Something about
Yeah,
county approval?
we've all along we've had questions about whether or not we can require permits and approvals from the county before we review things. And right now we're on the hot tubs where we're saying we require the permits for that before we review it. How would that be different from other kind of constructions? And is it reasonable to expect that for anything else?
Oh, think, sorry, I think with a hot tub permit, it's probably relatively easy to get and from the county, and it probably doesn't require a big significant review from the county. Versus a new construction home, it is a much longer process to go through on the county side of things, so that can take longer. So in terms of, I don't know how burdensome it would be to have the county permits ahead of time. But I could see, one risk would be if an owner paid for their county permits or had everything in place, and then went to the ACC, and then the ACC denied for whatever reason, then that owner may be out of some money for the permitting process.
Yeah. So it's hard to go through all of these and determine which ones need to get permits first. But in either case, I mean, just because we approve it, the county can still deny it. Correct?
I think so. I don't know on what grounds the county would deny a permit. Or at least they would have other requirements that need to be met before granting approval.
Alan, did you?
I was just gonna say, I think we all agree that both approvals need to be in place before work begins.
Right.
I felt there was some wiggle room about which happens first or second, and I'm just curious
Right.
about why it didn't
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
streamlined and it's easier.
Yeah, we've been going back and forth on this for a while. I mean, in a perfect world, we wouldn't see anything until the county approved.
Yeah.
That's not always going to happen, and we try to help people out a little bit, make it. And I kind of defer to Joel on that whole county permitting. So
This, the language here that is being proposed to doesn't change the timeline. Is that, prior to submittal to the ACC did exist, has existed. I'm asking for permits.
So did you add that requirement for this one, Joel, or did I put that in there? Permit shall be
Yeah.
prior to submittal. That may have even been Joanne. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so it used to read installation of hot tubs require building and plumbing permits from Whatcom County prior to submittal to the ACC for final approval. So that's how it did read. And so, however, the county does not, it does not always, or an owner does not always need a permit to do a hot tub. It depends. So for example, if a hot tub, I believe, is just existing on the ground, well, they may need a electrical permit. But they wouldn't need a plumbing permit because usually, fill a hot tub up with a hose. If you put a hot tub on a deck, you certainly need a permit because they're going to want to come out and inspect your deck and make sure the engineering is sound.
So is it reasonable to, in this instance, ask for the permit first before we review?
Oh, I think so. I mean, yeah, prior to submittal. It always has been prior to submittal.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it always has been asking for permits prior to submittal. We just changed the language. It says adding, permits may be required depending on the situation, and any necessary permits be obtained. you could change it and say permits, need to be submitted with administration, after ACC approval. I don't think it's too unreasonable to ask to have your hot tub permitted before.
Okay. Are you good with that, Patrick?
Sure. Okay, the next thing I had was on fences, Appendix D. You only list two types of fences, the hog wire and the
Split rail.
split rail. But I know, like, we have the aluminum, and I've seen other aluminum ones that are there. And then we've also seen where people have the like shadow box fence or, something like that, enclosed one. Do we need to increase what's allowed or, diagrams of fencing in Appendix D?
My suggestion was to just remove that from the appendix. I think the main thing here is I added no wire fences will be approved.
Mhm.
Well, it says except as listed in Appendix D. But I don't think anywhere else does it say that those are not approved. So I think this should encourage people to submit fences that they like, but with the stipulation that we probably will not even review wire fences. So I don't think we need to do a drawing for each one of the ones that are
Okay.
proposed. But I don't think anything here discourages any other type of fence.
Okay. And then on 14.6.9 D, privacy screens. Maximum size will be 6 feet high by 8 feet long. And what about having it breaks in the fence, like a 1 foot break or something between sections of an 8-foot privacy fence?
Yeah, we talked about that recently, about that requirement, and I didn't really find it anywhere. If I reviewed that, I would consider those two separate fences, two separate privacy screens, if they were separated. I don't know that we have any distance that they have to be apart. I don't think that's in here at all. But I would think that 1 6 by 8 would be one privacy screen, and maybe you want another one. But I think we say somewhere that it can't be, extended next to each other. Continuous, yeah.
Yeah, it just says be 6 foot high by 8 feet long, but it doesn't say,
So you think we need to clarify that?
Yeah, that-
like the continuous, maybe suggest that there can be spaces between.
well, there's be 6 feet high by 8 feet long.
That suggests that that's one panel and that's all you can do.
Yeah, that's kind of what that leads to, but, we can do more.
If there's a space.
Yeah, if there's space and they needed to do that.
Yeah, there's that place on Sun Valley Drive that has a privacy screen and then about 6 feet between the next one.
Yeah,
And I think they shouldn't be just connected
right.
to be a whole solid fence along the whole property line.
Well, maybe if we just put down privacy screens, they'll be 6 foot by 8 foot and not continuously connected.
Yeah.
Something to that effect.
You could say something about egress and access between the fences,
Well,
space to allow access.
Yeah, because that is the point, that we want to make sure wildlife can get around the fence.
okay, then I had, unless you've corrected it, 14.8.14. C.
You have that?
Yeah, it's not on here. It was on the original one. Well, this was just a correction. It had approval spelled wrong and it had VEL instead of
Yeah.
VAL.
Yeah, we're still looking at the formatting, the fonts
Yeah.
may change, and there were a couple grammatical things too that I noticed that I would want to change too.
Okay, and then the next thing I went to was 14.9.1B, talking about trees. Okay, I guess it's. Yeah, and before it just had DBH and you didn't know what that was, but that's diameter breast height.
Yeah.
That's down there. I don't know if you should also include that in the definitions in the beginning as well.
That's something Joel added, right? Right, Joel, you added that diameter breast height. Is that industry standard?
What section are you in?
Landscaping 14.9.1.
Yeah, I know it's mentioned in there. I think it was mentioned in there previously in the policies. It may not be on the definitions page. But the diameter breast height, or DBH, is, I think, believe measured 4.5 feet from the ground.
Since we're in this section, Joel, you want to give us a recap on what change you made recently? We got the email.
Sure. Sure. So let's see here. So part B. So the trouble we run into is trees to be preserved require protective fencing around them. And the language calls for it to be the drip line of the tree, the current language. However, being on site and where that drip line is actually located may or may not be, it's difficult to sometimes gauge exactly where it's at. Sometimes a tree might be missing some branches on one side, and therefore maybe it doesn't have a drip line on that side of the tree, even though the roots may be existing underground at that location.
Hmm.
So trying to get exact, be precise on where that drip line is difficult. It's really easy to see when you're looking at diagrams. The International Arborist Association provides some diagrams of what that looks like, but in the field, it's a little more tough. So another guideline they use, and that's where this language comes from, is having the fence not at the drip line, but 1 foot in radius from the trunk of the tree for every 1 inch in diameter measured at breast height. And that's where the DBH comes from. So if we have and so the trees are measured and those measurements are reported in the surveys, the size of the tree, so if we have a 12-inch or a 36-inch tree, usually we see those on the site plans. So we know just already how large a tree is. And then if we're basing it off those measurements, a certain distance and radius, dependent upon the diameter of the tree, then it makes it really clear and easy. But it's simple. It's something that's really measurable, right? And we can put a tape measure to the tree trunk and measure out to the fence and see if we're there. So this 1 foot of radius per inch of tree trunk, that comes from the International Arborist Association. And that's a conversation I had with an arborist, and he said, well, this is the gold standard, right? This is, is kind of the ultimate protection. but
So
it could
at
be,
what point does this all happen, Joel? When do
so this
we,
is part of when we go out and inspect it. So trees should be protected early on, and part of our first inspection, our erosion control inspection, we do look for this. And so when I'm out looking at these, it's sometimes it's hard to tell. And you know, you look at it, say, okay, well, you know, it seems reasonable to me. You have your fence out, even though maybe it's not all the way to the drip line. Or the drip line doesn't exist on one side of the tree. So having something that's measurable is always easier to
so you have the orange polyethylene fencing around it.
Mhm.
Asian with my builder next to me smashed part of my tree. Is there any other protection we could, you know, some physical barrier that we could prevent this kind of thing? I know a lot of times in the city they'll build a 2x4s or something around the tree as a kind of a skirt. Is that something that we ever use or require?
I I I've seen photos of that in other places, but I haven't seen anybody construct a like kind of that wall.
I mean, I guess that's something that we could require if we saw that there was a vulnerable tree
Mhm.
construction. We could probably require that in our meeting, right?
I believe it does say, if it's not this section, it's a different section that, oh, it does say that other tree protection may be requested by the ACC for more vulnerable trees. Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Mhm.
Patrick, did you have some more?
15.8 talks about flagpoles and it needs ACC approval. What if somebody's already done that?
Well, you could ask that about anything.
Yeah. Okay,
But
just so,
that's a perennial problem.
yeah,
We just, I think one of the points of this clarification, and we want people to understand, you know, where the limits are and what we want to review. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know what to do about it.
okay.
If it's already been done. That's why we're so grateful when people do come in and present to us, because this is a community and we all live here, and um, we agreed to this, and this is our process.
The next thing I have is in Appendix A, where it talks about the driveway, and it still shows the max 25% slope.
Yeah, one of my projects is going to be to go through all these appendices and clarify them and make changes that we need to make. If you see anything else in any of these that need to be removed or added, let me know, because I'll probably rework these a little bit.
Yeah. And then under the quick reference guide, where it has garage doors, it shows 14.5.5, but actually the reference to garage doors is under painting. And it should be 14.6.3, parent B, parent 4.
Yeah, I think we're going to cross-reference all those things. There's a lot of those things.
Yeah.
And then we also cross-reference the bylaws and our application pages. So yeah, there's a lot of that kind of thing that's going to be reviewed before this is. We're looking at just kind of the details of this.
And what about, it talks about in the paint that the garage door has to be the color of the body of the house.
Yeah, I think anything, like, even with the paint colors, I mean, it's nice to have sort of a baseline. Um, People ask for variances all the time, and we generally
Yeah.
approve them. But we don't want any surprises. So I think it's valuable to have it, keep it there in the appendix, and just so people, you know, that's a starting point. Dan, Wayne, do you have any comments about this the edits?
Nope.
No, I appreciate listening along and work everybody's put into this. This is an impressive amount of work and detail.
Thanks, sir. How you doing?
I will present these ideas to Joanne, and if you have any other ideas, I guess I'll wait a day or so if you want to add anything else to this.
No, I think y'all have done a great job, made it a much better working document, make it easier for the neighbors and everybody to know what's required of them.
Yeah, I think the years that we've worked together on the ACC, we've seen where some problems are and some weak points, and we identify them and make it clearer for the residents to understand what we want to see and how we want to keep this community nice. Any more comments about the policies?
No, it's good. I move the meeting be adjourned.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned at 7:10.